here we are.
Once again.
We are attempting to, make more videos. It really helps. Can you just swing that door back? Yeah. No.
No, this way.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
The mighty oak.
Thank you very much. Well, I would like to ask you about, actually, John Heaton wanted to know what your favorite double album was. And he mentioned quite a few.
Yeah, well, you know what? Of course, my All Things Must Pass album and Layla album.
But wasn't All Things Must Pass 3 records? But he's
yeah,
saying
but that was a
he
jam.
considered the jams, exactly. Okay.
That was a jam. And
because
and George, this is cool, because people have been saying about being credited and everything. See, they credited everybody that played on it. They just didn't do a breakdown of who played what on what track and all that kind of stuff like that. So it really got the whole thing in a state of mass confusion. But what George did when we were we jammed a lot, and that comes from old Domino stuff. That's how we got to know each other. But when we didn't even know the Jam album was going to be on there, and he gave everybody credit, for 3 songs that I'm on. I Remember Jeep and Thanks for the Pepperoni and I can't remember the name of it anyway. Didn't know it, and then one day I turned around and there was a royalty check in the mail, and George used to sign it himself, so here I was sitting out there on that farm in Mississippi and getting checks for All Things Must Pass. Pretty amazing, he was totally generous, allowing everyone to contribute, everyone who was a part of that record contributed, brought ideas to the table and.
Well, were there people that he did not want to be on the record?
Well, Delaney. But I mean, for real, but Delaney and Leon and people like that, but that was have brought their identity into this thing that it was focused on George. And George had told me about Delaney. He said he'd try to take over. So, and he would have.
Right.
And nobody needed to do any taking over in that session, because everybody was bringing their good to the table.
Right, everybody was working with each other.
Yeah, everybody was listening and drawing from each other.
There were no star trips going on at all.
George coming out playing right in front of you like this. Everybody.
Right.
Hey, how about this? And I remember the Badfinger boys. They were in the back of this massive sound stage, and they had on like their own little cubicle, and the rest of us were all just kind of clamored together out there in the middle of this big room, and they were back there because they were playing acoustic guitars. But every song, every one of them that they were on, George went back and when they all worked out, everything. I mean, see, you hear. Ivan the Terrible, that's Eric's big 12-string that George borrowed. You hear that, but see, what you don't know is there was all the other acoustic guitars going on at the same time. That's why it's so rich,
Were there any bloopers where you had to stop and start again?
Well, yeah, one on...
I know about the string breaking, but on the piano, but were there any others where he may have sang the wrong words or...
No.
Anything like that?
No.
Nobody hit a bum note?
No, it was all, everybody was pretty right on.
You just went straight
funny enough that I never made a mistake when I was playing. Maybe hitting that one string a little too hard, but other than that, I never made a mistake. Because those songs, we were all a part of them. So, it was a part of me, so I wouldn't lose any of my identity with what I brought to the table. So I'm not going to forget what I have laying on the table, you know, musical table. Uh, and I believe everybody is the same way. That's why, I mean, you get from one end of a song to the other, or say a long song like Wah Wah or something like that. But any of those songs, long and beautiful, they start you out like this and they leave you like that, you know.
Well, it was such a great record. Everything was just really in the flow.
And there wasn't any, it was not sticking to any conformity or anything like that or compromising. He was doing all these great songs from one end of them to the other, front to finish, you know. Long, stretch it out, play it, feel it. Let's go back here, you know.
Right. Okay. So that was your one double album that you loved.
That was one with, and then a couple of weeks later, you know, we're in the studio in Criteria doing the Layla record.
Were there any? Can you think of any other records, double records that you did like?
No, not really.
How about just any other records that you liked at the time?
I like Jose Feliciano, California Dreamin', and I didn't know it, but Jim Gordon played drums on that whole album. I had it in my car and I used to crank it up, you know, and he and I got to talking one time over to his flat and in Chelsea, and he was asking me what my favorite, you know, record I was listening to, what I like. I said, Jose Feliciano, the California Dreamin', you know, and wow, he said that he was playing everything on there. I just said, oh wow, no wonder. You know, I recognized, as soon as he said it, I went, well, of course, that's why it works, you know, and all that great percussion and everything. But Jose, I was listening to John Lennon at the time, and the White Album.
Well, that's a double album.
Yeah, it's a double album.
Yeah, the White Album was great.
Yeah, and cool. You know, I listened to the music that was around me.
I mean, I don't think anybody ever went, ooh, a double album. These people must be really full of themselves.
It
It's just like
that was all you could do.
You had the material. Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people weren't putting out double albums until that sort of started to happen. So.
Forget about a triple album, you know. So I think All Things was probably the first triple album.
Right.
Unless you go back into some of the old classical stuff, you know.
Well, that's different.
But that's a whole different ball of wax.
I mean, they
there.
played long
Yeah.
tracks anyway. But, okay, well, thank you for answering that. And another question was, you know, because, well, we both knew Albert King.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to know what Albert was like and his
He was a big loving guy.
tuning guitars and all that stuff.
Every time somebody asked me about Albert, now I don't know his tuning. I could never figure it out. Couldn't get it to do anything because it was a real strange tuning. But he played left-handed upside down, you know, and guitar. And I always remember him pulling up, and he opened up a show that I did with one of my bands years ago, you know, like 1981 or 2 or something, in Memphis. And the place, my second cousin, Bobby Kaiser, he had jailhouse tattoos on him, big panther on his arm. He owned the club, you know. He wanted everything loud. You know, if he needed to buy some extra amplifiers, he would do that, you know. But he put a show on, and Albert was opening up. And, man, I went out back, and he come pulling in. He was wheeling the bus and had that pipe sticking out of his mouth, that bowler hat on. And it was Albert King on the side of the bus. It was classic cool. You know, I mean, no camera would capture what the picture I have in my mind. No way. But he got out and sitting down backstage and we were talking. Because I remember him recording it, and Cropper was producing Stax. So I was allowed in and out all the time, more in than out, you know. But Albert was a lovely man, and we're getting ready to do the sound check and get all that together. Got it all done, sat back there, and he was getting for him to go on, and Bobby comes up and said, "About that time, Albert, for you to hit the stage." Place was full. And Poets Music Hall used to be a movie theater, so it gives you an idea how big it was. And had a big stage on it. It was a great place. They tore it down now. But Albert said, "Where's my money?" He made him give him cash in a brown bag before he went and played. And so then I came over and did my thing. Then we run the next house through, and it was the same scenario. It's time, Albert. It's time for you to get on. Where's my money, man? He gave it to him, and he got up and played.
Well, the reason why were so many people they wouldn't pay them.
Oh, they wouldn't pay you.
That
happened to us more than once,
Yeah.
But one guy thought he had us, when he was out front, hoodwinking one part of the band, and giving the old poor story about he didn't make any money and all that. We had the car backed up to the back door and was loading up a bunch of beer and stuff, so we'd all got it all balanced out, That's a long time ago, but.
Well, Chuck Berry did the same thing. When I was backstage with him.
You had to get paid in advance or expect to get screwed.
He had a briefcase full of money. It was at least $50,000.
We did that on the Dominoes. Bruce had
but you got paid after.
He had an aluminum, looked like James Bond. Had an aluminum briefcase with a handcuff that went on there, and had $60,000 cash, and then some other stuff stashed in it.
Yeah, what?
Well, man, we made Bruce carry everything because our logic was, if we get busted and we go to jail, you're in trouble, If we can't be replaced. If you get busted, we're all right, That was really how it worked, and he had to carry everything for everybody.
But then you got a gun pointed in your face, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was one myself. As a matter of fact, he was working with me then when I was doing some shows. That was one of my first bands, and Bruce went out and worked with me as well.
Oh, okay. It
it was. Oh, damn, I can't remember the name of it, but I could see the barrel of that gun. It came around the corner. The chief of police was one of the people who owned this place, and it was in Kansas City. And had a briefcase full of money, and come around the corner, a big 357. You could see all the bullets on either side, and he said, "Give me your money." I said, "Give him that briefcase, Bruce."
Oh, Jesus.
I said, "There's about $20,000 in there. Airplane tickets. Give him your watch, Bruce." So I gave him a watch, gave me everything. He turned around and walked off. We went up to the hotel room. I called the chief of police, and he said, "Oh, we'll have him by the time the sun comes up." And they did. They caught him at the airport.
Wow.
They're trying to use some of our tickets.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that happened, man. But it was like something in the movies, I walked around and I could see it right in my face, this far into that gun.
Never handcuff a briefcase to your hand, for God's sake. That's not a good idea.
Wow. And he had that same briefcase still, a Domino briefcase.
Okay, so that was good.
Y'all way off on it.
And,
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Well,
We're just talking.
somebody else we brought up Ronnie Wood, because somebody said, "Well, what was Ronnie Wood like?" But I wanted to
I didn't spend a lot of time with Ronnie Wood. I just know him. There's a lot of people who are you cross their paths and you see each other here, you see each other there.
Well, you went to dinner and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it wasn't that kind of. You didn't ever get really close.
No.
But you were asked to join the Stones at one point.
And I didn't want to. It was at Mick's birthday party on Cheney Walk, and that's when Bobby Keys, said, hey, BW, Mick wants to talk to you about being in a band. And I said, I can't. So Eric and I are putting together a band. So,
It was in Billboard. I found it. It was from years ago. They
Yeah.
they had slated you to be the keyboard player
yeah.
for the Stones.
But I couldn't see that because I knew Stewart, the guy who was the original Stone, what a lovely man, and he sat behind a curtain. And nobody ever saw him, you know. And they said he didn't look like a rock star. I mean, those guys look like they've been drugged behind a truck, you know. Keith Richards saying he doesn't look like a rock star. Well,
He did.
and he didn't, you know.
No,
he didn't. But
I used to go watch him play with Alexis.
yeah, he was
Great
a
guy.
fine player. Oh, lovely man, you know.
Very.
But I couldn't see me doing that. That wasn't a part of my. I didn't have a plan at the time, but I was a part of something that was coming together. And Eric and I, we didn't, at that point, we didn't, it was just him and me, or he and I, you know. It was just all coming together. And I was just going by that thing that leads us and guides us. And
Your inner voice.
yeah, I was just like I've been listening and doing the crazy painting today. Same thing.
You probably wouldn't have survived had you done that anyway. So.
No. Going over there and getting involved in all that, that was when I got introduced into like heavy drugs and stuff and heavy alcohol consumption. Before that, I mean, hell, I with Delaney and them, I didn't do shit. You know, just kept myself together and learn as much as I could and keep aware. Because I mean, we were really a tight unit. You know, now what we did after might have been something else, you know. But before and during the gig, it was everybody was on top of their game, you know. And that's why the band was so good. Same with the Dominoes, you know. I mean, we might have thrown down, you know, a lot.
Well, that was part of the deal.
But that came along with it. That's part of the. When you signed on to do that thing, man, you signed on for life, you know. I was lucky to have made it out of it with mine. That's true.